I'm Joe Bear Jr. with First Integrity Mortgage, and I am our Chief Yes Strategist and CEO. And today I have the blessing of having our lovely Kiara with me today. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I am Kiara Johnson, and I am a senior mortgage banker at First Integrity.
Yeah. And so the one of the reasons I wanted to get you in here and talk to you today is one, because I know how much you love doing these interviews and doing videos. It's just
Mhm.
it's on your top 10 list of things to do on a daily basis, right? But
Sure.
yeah, but in all seriousness, I wanted to talk to you because you've dedicated a lot of your life to this industry. You know, even from starting on on the non-sales side and just kind of progressing, but you've never left. You've been it for, I mean, I don't know if you want me to say how long it's been, but
17 years. I'm in my early 30s.
17. There it is. And so you've been doing it for a long time.
Hmm.
And clearly there's a reason, right?
Yes,
You're passionate.
I am.
And so that's that's really what I wanted to talk about, because I think so many times people get into our industry for the wrong reasons. I mean,
Agreed.
yeah, I mean, they're in it to make money.
Yep. And I think it's quick money.
And they do. You're right. And that's not the reality. I mean, sure, it can be if you have the blessing of having, a significant rate drop of multiple percent out of nowhere, but
Hmm.
that's not real, and that doesn't happen on a regular basis.
Hmm.
You actually have to work for it and earn it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and you've been incredibly successful these past several years in doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for me, this is going to be seen by people in the community. It's going to be seen by people on our team. It's going to be seen by people in the industry, right? So, where do you get your passion from for it?
Well, a lot of it comes from seeing just, I would say, the lack of knowledge of the industry in our community. So I think that we, as a people, kind of struggle with the home ownership piece. Like we don't know what it entails. You know, the credit piece is lacking, the budgeting piece is lacking. So, it's very important to me to get that information
And when
out.
you say your community and your people, what do you mean?
I am speaking African American community.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. Well, seriously, I mean, that's important.
Yes. So I think that it is something that we struggle with, and I've talked to several agents about it. And, that's why I do the classes and, we'll do the workshops because we want to have the information out there because we just, a lot of us weren't taught,
Right.
the steps to home ownership or preparing ourselves accordingly. And that's why, we're kind of late being homeowners.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and there is that home ownership gap, right? It's
Hmm.
about 20% versus the white community where of the home ownership rate. And, you see that and it's like, okay. And we've talked about this many, many times. So I did really know the answer and what you were going to say, but like
Yeah.
we have talked about it a bunch, and it's hard to impact that as a whole across the board. But there's a
Hmm.
great story, or I guess it's not a proverb, but a story about, okay, the little boy walking down the beach, right? And he sees all the turtles that are washed up, or the starfish that are washed up on the beach, the sand dollars, whatever they are.
Hmm.
And he's picking them up one by one and throwing them back into the ocean. And there's an older person that walks up to them. They're like, why are you wasting your time? There's thousands of these things out here. You can't possibly save them all. And I'm sure you're familiar with the story, but
Hmm.
and the young boy's response is, but I just saved that one.
Yep.
And I saved that one.
Hmm.
And that's the only way we can make a difference.
Yeah. One family at a
One,
time.
one family at a time,
Yeah.
baby. You're right.
Yep.
But that is the reality. And the approach you've taken, you touched on this for just a second about you teach classes.
Hmm.
That is so valuable. I mean, I just came from doing one earlier, right?
Okay. Good.
I did one at Paraquad for specifically focusing on people with disabilities.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But that's the way we make an impact, right? You
Correct.
don't make an impact by doing one loan, although every single loan is just
It
like
counts.
that sand dollar. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it helps. But tell more about like why you do those classes on a regular basis, and it takes time, effort, and money from you.
I do. Well, like I said, it's that education piece, and sometimes the classes aren't as full as we would like. It does get discouraging, but the thing is, we lack knowledge. Like we lack specifically the credit piece. So
Right.
credit is one of the biggest obstacles that I run into when I'm trying to get people pre-approved. And that's the kind of the start of it. So, we got to get the information out there. So, I do classes for 3-4 times a month, honestly. And it's just
That's awesome.
whether it's 5 people there or 15 people there, it's just, we got to get the word out.
Right. I mean, it doesn't, and I've said this for years, and once again, this is something that you and I have talked about in the past. It doesn't matter if just a few people show up.
Right.
I mean, frankly, sometimes those are even better because
it's more intimate.
Yeah, it's exactly. And you can have that more comfortable conversation and you can answer more specific questions and they all participate together as opposed to, you got a class where today we had 15 people plus in the class and it was great. It took them a minute to warm up to be able to talk more, right? But we got there. But in a class where you have 3, 4, 5 people, you're getting into it.
Right.
And you're really, and the only time that I get discouraged on my side is when nobody shows up, right?
Yeah.
And
thankfully I haven't had that. We've at least had, I'll say at least 2 or 3 people.
That's awesome.
So
yeah.
That's enough.
And it is that one extra sand dollar back into the ocean every single time. And I think it's cool because as an organization, First Integrity takes a lot of pride in that. But I know how much you as an individual loan officer take pride in that. And that's really, frankly, why I wanted to do this is because my opinion, I don't think you either get enough credit or take enough credit for doing it that way.
Well, I'm not really into it for the credit. Ideally, I just want more people to have the knowledge to be able to, the generational wealth. We want to be able to leave our kids something, our grandkids. And, if we're setting them up, the earlier and earlier that we can do it, the better.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that generational wealth thing is just, it's so critical. I mean, one, it's the quote unquote part of the American dream, right?
Absolutely.
And,
yes.
But 2, it is that setup because it's that setup for 75% of Americans, that's their largest asset. For the vast majority of Americans, and there's probably a stat out there somewhere, but it's probably something like 99%. It's the largest purchase. It's the largest thing they're ever going to own. And it literally sets them up, to your point, for generational wealth to pass down to the kids, the grandkids, and it sets them up for success as you go and you go and you go. That's an impact.
Absolutely.
And I know you said you're not into taking credit, which I know you're not. That's not important to you, which is going to lead me to my next topic where you don't like to talk about it. But for me, you and I have talked about this before. One of the things that I was most proud of you was when I asked you, when I was on the board for the Mortgage Bankers Association of St. Louis. See, sometimes it's okay to take credit, all right? When I asked you to join the board for the Mortgage Bankers Association, it was because of that passion, your desire to lead, your desire to help people and make an impact on the community, right? And luckily you said yes. And then not only did you say yes, a few years later, what happened?
Became the president.
Yeah.
I also shut down the country, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
2020 was rough.
Yeah.
So,
You did become president of the Mortgage Bankers Association of St. Louis in 2020. And yes, a few months later, everything got shut down.
It did.
But
that's how powerful I am.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. See, now you're taking all sorts of credit.
No,
right?
I don't want to take credit for that. Not for COVID, no.
Right. But you did it for the right reasons. And that's so important. That's anybody, and frankly not enough, but any loan officer can teach classes. Whether they do it for the right reasons is another thing. Any loan officer can go get a loan, right? Whether they do it for the right reasons, a whole nother thing, right? But you took it a whole nother step.
Yeah.
And you became the president of the second oldest Mortgage Bankers Association in the entire country. Yeah. Do you remember the year when it was founded? I think I have the ballpark. I think it was.
Put me on the spot.
Was it? I can't remember if it was 1928 or 1929, something like that.
pretty old.
That's old. We're almost 100 years old as an
We're
organization.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the crazy thing to me was you became the first Black president of the organization ever,
Yeah.
and a female on that. Now, we've had several females be president in the past.
Yeah. That was a huge stride
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. And it was cool. I mean, I don't think either one of us knew it at the time.
I think I knew.
Did
I
you?
had an inkling.
Yeah. I mean, the odds were right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was cool. And then
It was.
the thing that you took it another step further, but you used that platform to have a voice and to get the word out.
Yes.
So what'd you do?
What do you mean?
Like, how did you get the word out? What did you do? Like, because you did that. Like, you put that effort into it.
About me being president?
Yeah, and
I mean,
different activities and yeah.
Well, we didn't really get to do it.
I know we didn't have a lot of time in 2020. I get it. But.
Yes, but as far as the support, I mean, I got a nice army behind me. I work with a lot of talented, strong realtors, and we're very supportive of each other. So, it wasn't hard having them come out to support and to know the cost too. So.
Right.
And like I said, it was a big deal with me being the first African American. So,
That installation, I was fortunate enough to do your installation for you, which it was a tremendous honor that you asked me to do it, which I thought was really cool. But to see that support from your realtors
it was
showed
really
up,
nice.
I mean, in droves to support you.
It was really nice.
I'm getting chills right now. You can't, like, it was.
Yeah, it was dope.
It was empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was cool. And then at that point, it was like liftoff.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a short takeoff though.
But you know what? It was a liftoff for you.
Yeah.
And that's where, I mean, people that otherwise, you speaking of not taking credit, right? If you wouldn't have done that, they wouldn't have seen that side of you. Where you do things because of passion, because of doing things for the right reason, and because you want to help the community.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean,
that
truthfully.
Is true.
So instead of rolling your eyes at me from now on when we bring it up, you should be like, "Thank you, Joe."
Thank you, Joe.
It seems so sincere.
Yeah.
But in seriousness, I mean, it really did. I mean, and think about the number of families that you're helping, and I don't. We should try and track this somehow. I don't know, but how? But really, it's not. I think so many families that you're helping, the way you're doing it through the activities that you do at your church, through the rent parties, through the seminars, through everything that you're doing, those are probably people that have otherwise would have not even tried to buy a house right now.
Yeah, I agree.
That's an impact.
Yeah.
I mean, have you thought about that?
I have, and it's a good feeling. Like I said, I'm always the one to, where people kind of gravitate to if they, want to talk some scenarios out of the box where they don't feel judged. And that's the whole thing. You want to work with people that you're comfortable with. And I know sometimes we can have complex situations. So, it is a good feeling to help people through that. Even with the budgeting, that's another piece that,
so important.
is not taught in the schools. And I'm not going to go on a rampage, but I just think it's so crazy that we teach kids how to be single parents. They bring home babies, but we don't teach
in school.
In public schools. We don't teach the, budgeting, finance, credit. We don't teach that. So, if you're not taught that at home, if your parents are not savvy enough to teach the kids, then it's something that we lack, which has been the trend in our community.
A lot of these people that you're helping probably would have never even started the journey had you not taken that first step.
Yes. So, it feels good.
I bet. It should.
It does feel good.
Yeah. I hope your kids see this too.
They do.
I know Trey does.
Yes, Trey has already started his classes. So.
Oh, has he really?
Mm-hmm. He went online to start his classes.
So cool.
So he's in school for that. Yep.
So I don't know that you'll want to put this out there, but I think it's cool. But that Trey, her oldest son, has he done the 20-hour course to become a licensed loan officer?
This is what he's starting. He's starting his courses now with MEC.
That's awesome.
So, yep.
While he's in school already.
So he's, his big thing, and we talked about it, is he graduated in 22.
Right.
So a lot of them will be graduating in 2-3 years, and he may be able to help some of his fellow classmates become homeowners at an early age. Again, you
Right.
know,
Starting the trend early.
starting the trend early.
And frankly, if he does that, that helps overall society because the home ownership rate used to be 26 back when I first bought my first house in 2003.
So that's 26 for you, right?
Yeah.
I think ours is 35.
Yeah.
35 years old is the average age for first-time home buyers in the African American. The last time I read. Yeah. See, that's a big difference.
Now, that was in 2003.
Well,
so,
I'm not
but
telling
now
my
it's
age, but
yeah, I know I did it. But now it's 30, 31, 32, something like that. So
Okay.
there's still that
But
age
it's
gap
still a gap.
disparity, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think it's so cool. When you first told me about Trey that he was going to do that and you were encouraging him, I don't know. I was excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for him.
I mean, I've known him since he was little, and I know how thoughtful and how good of a kid he is. So he's going to carry his mom's legacy forward because that's how you treat people too.
Absolutely.
And I know if he doesn't,
I'll take care of that.
You'll fix it at home.
I will.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of today was one, yes, I know I was forcing you to get out of your comfort zone. So thank you for making me appeasing me, right?
You're very much forcing. Emphasis.
Yeah.
Forcing.
Sure. But I think it's a message that we don't hear enough. And it's not a message. I mean, I can tell the story, but it doesn't have the impact the same way of you telling that story. So you being willing to come out of the comfort zone and tell that story was just awesome. And I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah.
Anytime, Joe.
You got that, right? Yeah. Anytime? All right. So we'll queue you up for the next open session. We'll do it again.
Just for the video.
Yeah.
That was just for this video.
In all seriousness, I think it's awesome. I really appreciate that you came in and did this. And I hope it just helps so many other people. It'd be nice to toss 3 or 4 sand dollars into the ocean at a time.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. So, questions? You want to hear more about Kiara or find a way to buy your first house or your next house? Contact Kiara. There you go. All right. Thank you.